Chapter 12.
The peculiar sensation of time slipping away was something Charlie hadn't fully grasped until now. He wondered if it mirrored the feelings Ellie experienced when the cancer diagnosis came her way. Formulating a creative bucket list seemed far beyond him. Every morning, it was tradition for Charlie to grab a box of donuts from Harry and Rudy on his way to the station. The local gossip about him and Harry didn't bother him, nor did the rumors about the young doctor leaving his infertile wife. Sundays were reserved for pancakes at breakfast. Each bite tasted a bit sweeter knowing his human days were numbered. "You might end up being a plump vampire if you don't watch it," Bella commented, spreading Nutella over her toast. Charlie turned his gaze to Edward, who had practically moved in since his siblings departed Forks. "The transformation uses a significant amount of energy, but having enough fat might make it feasible," Edward quipped, scowling at the sun as it peeked through the clouds, engrossed in his mobile. "No one's going to mind if you're a bit on the heavy side," Harry chimed in, adding more eggs to the table. It would certainly simplify things if Harry would stop cooking for a crowd. "I'll take that under advisement, dear." "How about joining us for dinner tonight?" Edward requested. Charlie let out a resigned breath. All right, more food on the agenda. His glory days on the football field were past him, but it was time to dust off his running shoes. "I'll go for a jog before lunch." "Sure, Dad," Bella beamed. The dishes floated gracefully to the sink, cleaning themselves as Harry brandished his magic wand like a maestro's baton. "Your sneakers are in the closet," he mentioned as Bella and Edward escaped into the sunroom. "I'll drop by to see Esme," he added. "She could use the company." Charlie was relieved by Edward's prudish nature. It kept his worry at bay about him and Bella alone in the house. "Thanks," Charlie said, kissing Harry's cheek. "Enjoy yourself." The enchantment here was palpable, pulsating with an ancient energy that dwarfed even Marcus. It coursed through his veins like symphonies of the sweetest harmonies. Whenever Harry brought deer, Marcus subsisted on animal blood. It was reminiscent of the human concept of fast food, convenient. He lost track of time while communing with the great spruce he'd chosen beside the river on the Cullens estate. It didn't speak, not in words, but its soothing presence assured Marcus he was not alone. The humans visited the house that night. Marcus heard them depart later, followed by Harry's subtle approach. As Harry reached him, Marcus opened his eyes, observing the man gazing at the moon. "She's attentive to you as well," Harry remarked without turning. "It's been 3 weeks. Sharing your essence is the only path forward with her." What should I say, and to whom? Mosquitoes droned by the river, and the bush still sang with cicadas even as Harry disturbed the leaf-strewn ground to sit. Magic, the celestial bodies, existence, mortality. They are all poised for you to unlock. Harry's eyes were closed, the song in the trees morphing into something more welcoming. It felt like a warm greeting. "I don't get it," Marcus confessed. "Speak to the trees about Didyme." Marcus tried to speak, but silence ensued. He made several attempts. "She was breathtaking," he whispered finally. "Loving her was inevitable." A summer gust stirred the leaves. Marcus cleared his throat to continue. "Her soul was radiant. Her deepest desire seemed to be completeness for everyone around her. It destroyed her, our inaction during her manic episodes. Arrow indulged her every whim, even as a mortal. She had always battled with illness, a penchant for creating chaos. She was impossible to resent." The trees remained motionless and silent. "Carry on," Harry urged. "I adored her as a moth loves the moon," Marcus continued, his voice still barely a whisper. He lifted his gaze to the moon, appearing as unreachable as Didyme. "She was the core of my universe. Being near her was all I wished for. Each time I approached, her touch was scalding, and yet I couldn't refrain from seeking her embrace repeatedly." The spruce behind him thrummed. "I envisioned an eternity together. Her spirit was so vivid, so full of life. We cherished her, But my love, I hope, was the deepest. Her power was to be loved. What happened? Harry's eyes were luminous, his hands toying with a pebble, as Harry was prone to doing. I am uncertain, Marcus admitted, faltering over the confession. Oh, Emma Moore. It had been centuries since he last heard that voice, yet the memory was vivid, pressed like a flower in a tome. Didime, Marcus exhaled. Harry appeared to be engaging with something Marcus couldn't perceive. Marcus. I apologize. Fiercely I regret. My presence was a blight. Where you three built, I invariably dismantled. Marcus looked, but Didime was beyond his sight. The moon mocked him with laughter. It was suicide, Marcus declared, the word a bitter poison. He had speculated, whispers had persisted. I am sorry. Everything seems trivial now. Selfishness. It's you who I forgive without pause, Marcus replied effortlessly. That was Didime's effect, a beacon of light. You must pardon yourself, Marcus, Emma Moore, she implored. Her time is limited, Harry mentioned. Blood marked his face. Marcus had never seen this happen before. Forget about me, Marcus. Or despise me. Let my brother know I held a bittersweet love towards life, and I am content it ends. Marcus blinked, feeling hollow. It was an emptiness distinct from grief. While grief had been wet and oppressive, this was resonant. Ea, he screamed. The cicadas halted. Within the house, something crashed. Birthing creatures went about their business, oblivious. Emotions returned like a tide. For a fleeting instant, amidst his flawless recall of past selves, Marcus questioned his own identity. Didime no longer lingers, Harry said. Her specter needn't hover over you now. Silence enveloped them. You two all right? Esme called from the window. In her backdrop, the house cast a warm glow. Attempt conversing with the magic now, Harry suggested. She is an attentive listener. With that, Harry departed, as if unaffected by shattering Marcus' identity's very core. Vacant, Marcus shared with the tree. Fragmented. Boundless, the spruce replied. Complete. Upon Carlyle's return, he stopped by the station to exchange greetings with Charlie in front of witnesses, sharing accounts of settling his eldest children into college dormitories. The tales would circulate by nightfall. Current rumors had Mrs. Vane theorizing about alien encounters. As Billy recounted, Vane would find solace in boxed wine if the rumors held. Overnight, Esme was nearly back to her cheerful self. Occasionally, Charlie observed her lost in thought by a window but refrained from prying. He understood well the anguish of missing a child. Contemplating the absence of four was beyond him. At La Push, Billy assured there hadn't been more transformations among the youth. Charlie was relieved, and expressed as much during their next fishing excursion. An ambition of mine, once, Billy shared. To be a wolf. I always imagined running as swiftly as the breeze through these woods, Billy chuckled as he slapped the arm of his chair. A silly fantasy, really. It's true, you never can predict how life will unfold, Charlie replied. It amazed him how quickly the school year had begun again. Even mundane activities like managing the traffic seemed to pass in a flash. You're always going to be my pal, Charlie Swan, Billy stated as he fiddled with his fishing rod. You're upsetting the fish, Charlie retorted. They sat in companionable silence, gazing at the river. Charlie found himself wishing Bella were there. Her gift for words was unmatched. Billy, he added, I swear I won't ever try to eat you. Their laughter filled the air, though it lacked the old vigor. As they lingered on the pier, Charlie felt his days slipping away. Halloween had a habit of treating Harry poorly. Though his mind might not recall all the details, his body certainly did. Harry navigated the day cautiously, as if treading on a carpet of eggshells. After Voldemort destroyed the fragment of his soul that resided in Harry's head, Harry's memory became patchy. It was peculiar to retrieve lost memories. Not a pleasant oddity, nor an unpleasant one. Still, Harry experienced nostalgia for a time when he was truly happy. "Step inside, Marcus," Harry called gently. Raising his voice felt unnatural, yet old habits die hard. Pumpkins carved by Harry stood sentinel by the door. Trick-or-treaters had already begun their rounds. Soon, the clocks would go back, and darkness would fall earlier. "I once journeyed through time," Harry recounted at the dinner table. "We rescued a hippogriff." He pondered the flavor of hippogriff briefly, knowing some thoughts were better left unsaid. "Hippogriffs ring a bell," Marcus mused. "As a child, I was learning to ride when my horse took flight." "An Abraxan, that was," Edward corrected. Harry wished Edward would curb his snooping. He hadn't mastered teaching Marcus a clemency yet, and the vampire excelled at runes for reasons unknown. They switched from cork stoppers to tiny silver discs. Working with Marcus was like being with Hermione, except he carried the scent of sage and hazel.
The doorbell chimed.
Picking up another bag of candy, Harry answered it. It wasn't trick-or-treaters, but a nomad at the threshold, ignorant of the protective wards. "Heard you harbor a human," she said, her fiery hair catching the light. "The Volturi advised against coming, but did they warn against hunting here as well?" When she nodded, Harry invited her inside. Edward blocked the kitchen entrance. "Leave now, Victoria, or you'll regret it." Harry sighed, fingers grazing his wand. He wished he could stand between Victoria and his loved ones. If she breached his wards, perhaps she wasn't entirely dangerous. "Rumor is she's a formidable shield," Victoria murmured. "Arrow's most powerful. I came only to see her." She darted forward, sneaking past Edward then. The ward shuddered, collapsed, then vanished. Rushing outside, Harry found Edward beside a heap of amputated limbs. "Incendio," Harry chanted, transforming Victoria to a wisp of purple haze. Returning home, they moved slowly. "Next time you handle the door," Harry remarked. He had forgotten and rediscovered his life. Observing the broken doorframe and ruined drywall, he understood why Halloween unsettled his spirit. "When you stare like that, it's odd," Bella commented. Harry grinned. "My apologies." Yet he didn't avert his gaze. Subtleties weren't his strength. "Do you miss the old ways?" she inquired. Despite the turkey being too large for two people, they were valiantly consuming it. Charlie tackled his third helping, intending to join Bella's running routine this coming year. "I miss certain pleasures, like the act of chewing and the warmth of the sun." Scottish skies were often gray, yet nothing compares to a sunrise reflecting off water. "You're a peculiar one, Harry," Charlie quipped. As they chuckled, Bella felt an unfamiliar ache in her heart. Using magic, Harry quickly tidied the table. Watching him control the sauce as it flowed into a Tupperware was spellbinding. He then kissed Charlie on the cheek and stored leftovers in their new refrigerator. Charlie cherished tradition this year, sending Bella to Renee's for Thanksgiving, reserving Christmas for the Swans. After dinner, they donned coats for a stroll, marveling at the festive lights. "Where did you leave your shoes?" Charlie probed. Bella found it unusual that Harry's breath didn't mist. She pondered if Charlie would ever cease reminding him about footwear, now unnecessary for Harry. Perhaps once Charlie embraced vampirism, he'd abandon such trivial human concerns. She gazed at them hand in hand, considering them the most beautiful sight imaginable. His time was dwindling. Fear eluded Harry. It was an ineffective guide. As a Gryffindor, knowing others caused his pain was harder to endure. "Everything will be all right," he asserted. "You constantly say that," Charlie replied, eyes still on the finished game. "Bella will be okay as well." "That girl attracts trouble," Charlie lamented, leaning against Harry. Harry longed to be warm, wishing for a leap forward in time to a peaceful year ahead. Sometimes, he wished for a return to a year past before recalling his identity. Simplicity reigned back then. Selling the house before heading to Italy is a sound plan, Charlie proposed. Harry hesitated at the thought of selling. We should, he agreed, reasoning prevailing. Conventions like wearing shoes, belting up in cars, and cooking the proper amount felt distant to Harry. Rationality was Hermione's forte, not his. It's all right if we don't, Charlie murmured. Harry hugged him, breathing in a scent of sweat and grass. Charlie had tended the lawn after work, proudly echoing the motorboat nostalgia of Billy. Marcus will miss the trees, Harry noted. Might we extend our stay?
No.
Rules are rules, and we abide by them, Charlie asserted. Harry exhaled. I dread the burn for you, Charlie. 3 days. We settle Bella at college, prepare for our journey, then depart for Italy. Do you think they have trees there? Harry imagined the olive groves, walnut, and fig trees depicted in photographs. Would they retain their magic amid fruit production? Uncertain. Harry squeezed his hand, kissing him softly. Charlie's fear was tangible, echoing their first vulnerable night together. It's going to be all right, Harry vowed. You keep saying that. Charlie smiled, their foreheads resting against each other. Someday soon, I'll truly accept it.
Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this chapter, please hit the subscribe button and ring the bell to stay updated with more audiobooks. Happy listening!